Yes, a lot of people are moving to the state from Washington, Oregon, and California. House prices are up, but in spite of all of that, I still love living in Idaho, and here are my 10 reasons why. Number one, you don't have to be afraid to fly your US flag in front of your house here. I see flags flying everywhere here, and that's because Idaho is part of the United States of America, and people respect that. When you go to a BSU basketball game, people stand for the national anthem, and that's because they're proud of the country that we live in. We support America here. One comment that I've heard repeatedly from my out-of-state clients, especially those from Washington, is, "It's so nice to finally see the US flag flying." And you'll also see a lot of those blue police flags around here. That's because Idaho backs the blue. About a year ago, when everybody was talking about defunding the police, Idaho was defending the police, and our governor gave out bonuses to our law enforcement officers across the state. Number two, you can easily own a gun here. One website I was reading ranked Idaho the 5th most gun-friendly state in the United States. That's just behind Alaska, Arizona, Wyoming, and Montana. The author of that study said, though, that ranking which one is actually the most gun-friendly state is kind of like splitting hairs because all of them are actually pretty much the same. There's no waiting period to get a gun. Last year I bought a couple guns, and after about a 20 or 30 minute background check, I walked out of the store with my guns in hand. Now, Idaho is actually an open carry state, which means that any Idaho resident who is 18 years or older can carry a concealed firearm throughout the state without a permit. And that's because in Idaho, we believe in responsible gun ownership. And so what that means is we believe that the solution to this uptick in shootings that we've seen throughout the country is found in reforming the culture that is promoted in movies and video games, and is not to be found in taking away gun rights from responsible citizens. Another thing I love about living in Boise, Idaho is I'm not afraid to walk around town with my family. And I was just talking about this with somebody who was visiting from out of town the other day. Go to nearly any other capital city or big city in the United States and you won't see very many families walking around. You'll see hundreds, if not thousands, of homeless people. You'll probably see drugs, maybe even some human excrement. Boise is a capital city, but it doesn't feel like that. You'll see kids walking around town. You'll see women jogging by themselves. It has a much more homely feel. You can go to dinner in downtown Boise, stay late at night, and not be nervous walking back to your car. The fourth thing that I love about living in Idaho is the Idaho government wants to stay out of your life as much as possible. Nobody likes the government. I think it was Ronald Reagan who said that the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, "We're from the government and we're here to help." The government is bad at everything that it does, and Idaho recognizes that. And that's why our state is the most deregulated state in the United States. Say what you want about the governor. I know some people dislike him, but his first year in office, he slashed 75% of Idaho's red tape, and he's continued to do so ever since. So far, 95% of Idaho's regulations have been cut, and Idaho is the most deregulated state among the 50 states, and last year we actually increased our lead over the second most deregulated state. Number 5, Idaho supports life. Now this topic is actually really close to me because my daughter was born premature. She spent 3 months in the NICU, and all of the doctors told us to abort our baby because if she survives, they told us, then she would live the rest of her life with serious difficulties. And our response was, isn't somebody with disabilities a person too? Don't they have a right to life as well? Now it takes about 45 minutes to actually tell the whole story because my daughter is actually a miracle, and I really thank God for that. I really do. But we didn't know if she would be okay. We just believe that since people are created in the image of God, people have value, and therefore we support life. And Idahoans support life as well. Back in March, the governor signed a bill into law that if Roe versus Wade is overturned in the next couple weeks, abortions will be banned here in Idaho after a heartbeat is detected, which is about 6 weeks after conception. Now, before I get to number 6, I'm actually pretty curious about this. If you think Idaho is a great state, hit the like button. But if you don't, or you're unsure, hit the dislike button. I'm pretty sure I know what the outcome will be, but I'm actually curious to see how the likes and the dislikes will compare. So number 6, people are kind and polite here. Now, obviously I don't have any statistics to share with you on that, but I can speak to my experience in living here in Idaho. People are cordial here. When you go on a walk and pass somebody, they say hi, they'll stop and chat with you, they're polite, they're kind and friendly. And they'll also stop when you need help. A couple months ago, my family wagon blew a radiator as I was driving down the freeway, and I barely could get off of the off-ramp, and I was literally stuck right on the off-ramp of the freeway. So I took all of my kids out of the car, and we're all standing on the side of the road. It's a hot day. And a couple minutes later, a guy stops and says, "Hey, I have a couple bottles of water. Let's fill your radiator up with water and see if that'll do anything." 2 minutes later, another guy pulls up who actually was the manager of Tropical Smoothie. He had seen us broken down and was hot outside, so he actually drove to work, made 6 smoothies for us, and came back, gave all of us smoothies and said, "Hey, I'm here to help if you need anything." So 2 different people stopped to help us, one with 6 smoothies for all of us in our family. That's incredible. And that's not the only time that that's happened. Other times that my car is broken down, I've had people stop on the side of the road to ask if they can help in any way. 7, Idaho is well managed. Now, if you watched any of my videos, you know this, but last year, Idaho ended its fiscal year with a surplus of $1.9 billion, the most in Idaho history. And rather than burying all that money in some government program, the governor actually did something unprecedented. He actually gave $190 million of that back to Idaho residents. All of us got tax rebates in the mail recently. Here's mine. And on average, each Idaho household received $333 back as a tax rebate. Idaho also currently has a historically low unemployment rate, 2.5%. And for only the second time since 1982, Idaho won't borrow any money in the bond market to meet the anticipated cash flow requirements for the upcoming fiscal year. The governor wants to minimize government spending because of the uncertain economic times that we're living in. Our state was recently upgraded to a AAA credit rating, which is the highest rating that you can get, and is doing better now financially than it ever has been. And just in April, our tax revenues came in at $574 million more than anticipated, which is putting us on track to achieve a $1.3 billion surplus this coming fiscal year as well. So I have to give credit where credit is due. The governor is doing an excellent job in managing our economy. The economy here is booming. Small government rocks, and I think that's what Idaho is striving to do. Keep the government little. A little bit of a pun intended there. Number 8, Idaho tries to do what it can to make up for bad federal government policy. And I'll give you just one example, the border crisis. Since Biden took office, his open border policy with Mexico has resulted in a dramatic uptick in meth and fentanyl here in the state of Idaho. Now, the federal government is clearly to blame for this, and they should do something about it, but they won't. But what I really appreciate about living in Idaho is that the governor here doesn't just sit back and hope for the federal government to act when he knows that it won't. Idaho takes action when the federal government doesn't. 3 things that Idaho has done recently. Number 1, last year, Idaho sent some state troopers down to the border with Mexico to try and curb illegal entry into the US. And the hope was that this will help reduce the amount of meth and fentanyl that is flowing into our state from Mexico. 2, just recently, we've started a program called Operation Esto Perpetua, which is a new strategy that we're trying here to protect Idaho's communities from these harmful drugs. And then number 3, we've joined 25 other states in supporting the creation of the American Governor's Border Strike Force, whose goal is to disrupt and dismantle criminal organizations who are taking advantage of the open border with Mexico. So I love that Idaho is proactive in trying to make up for bad federal policy. Number 9, what I love about living in Idaho is definitely the fact that this is a beautiful state. And I love it. Honestly, this is probably the number 1 reason why I love living in Idaho. Just check out these pictures and you'll see what I mean. And number 10, education freedom. Idaho is a school choice state. And that means that our state allows parents to choose which system of education is best for our children. We can choose to put our children in public school, private school, charter school, homeschool, whatever you think is best for your child. The state of Idaho is not going to get involved and dictate what it thinks you should do with your child. And if you are doing homeschool, there are programs like TechTrep and Overture Learning, which provide up to $1,700 in funding that you can use for curriculum or other things related to your child's education. You get to choose the curriculum you want to use, and you don't have to report your grades or your attendance to the school or to some other governing board. And I love this. I love that the government is not making me do what it thinks is best for my child. So is it perfect here? No. I'm sure for every reason that I've given, somebody can find some sort of an exception. But honestly, overall, I can't think of a better state in all of the United States that I'd rather live in than the state of Idaho. But what I'm sure you want to know now, though, is what are some myths about living in Idaho? Well, I dispel some of those in this video right here.